What is going on, everybody? It is episode 532 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett, and I am here once again with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. I am not wearing black today. Brett is the one wearing black today, but I am in a bad mood because I just saw the trailer for the Netflix Avatar: The Last Airbender series, and it looks like trash. So I'm in a bad mood because of that. I don't know if I'm going to give it a chance. I probably should at least watch the pilot. But they released them all at once anyway, so you're supposed to binge it, and the trailer is not promising.
Well, maybe you'll end up being surprised by it. Just to let everyone let us know that we're good in the chat. It's saying we got good connection rather than excellent connection. So just
hate when that happens.
That doesn't happen very often. So we'll wait and see. You never know. You might be surprised by it. You could end up being surprised by it. Those are the best shows when you think it's going to be crappy and it turns out being good.
You think it's gonna be crappy?
I have no allegiance nor knowledge. I mean, I know what it is, obviously, but I'm not.
I thought you meant this episode.
No, about Avatar: The Last Avatar: The Last Airbender.
I was like, damn, we barely even started, and you're.
No, I pass no judgments. You got to get a couple minutes in before you know whether this is going to be one that's going to go well or not.
Yeah, we still have time to recover.
Yes.
Okay.
Guys, we got a bunch of stuff to get into today, but before we get started, would you hit the like button on this video and subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already? We are past 96,000 subscribers. We are working our way to 100,000 subscribers, which is fantastic. Share the video with your friends so that more people can come in here and hang out and join the show. We want more people to come in and watch, so please go ahead and do that. Also, remember, all Super Chats, $20 and over. We will interrupt the discussion. We will read those right then and there, and then we will do our best to get back on topic as soon as we can. Perhaps you have questions about Avatar: The Last Airbender. I have no idea. But what do we got to talk about today? So recently, there's a YouTuber named Star Wars Theory. He has a channel called Star Wars Theory. And he was essentially defamed by Rolling Stone. And they make him out to be sexist for having an interview with a psychologist named... she's a psychologist, right? Not a psychiatrist.
Psychologist.
Yeah. I see her
dating coach.
Yeah, I see her all over Instagram. Sadie Khan. So, like, we're going to talk about that because they had a very, very weak way of phrasing their article and their headlines.
He basically was defamed as saying that women don't belong in Star Wars, they don't belong in the movies, they don't belong in the fan base, and he literally just sat there like he should probably sue them.
Yep, which is very, very annoying. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the fact that Kim Kardashian has been named official brand ambassador to Balenciaga less than a year, after the scandal that broke out. I looked
it has been a year, right?
Maybe
the ad campaign with the bondage teddy bears and the court documents about child porn.
November of last year?
That was November of 2022.
So it's like a little over a year.
So it's been over a year, and this is... Also, after she said, I'm going to talk with their team and reconsider how I feel.
She waited long enough, right? She gave it what I mean by that is she gave it the PR rep amount of time to wait for something like this to blow over, which it probably will, if I'm being completely honest. People have short memories. So we'll talk about it. We'll get into that. If for anything else, we could just drag Balenciaga again and then remind people that they're kind of scummy.
That'd be fun.
So we're talking about that. Also, Crystal Hefner, if you don't know who that was, the last name should give you a clue. She was married to Hugh Hefner, and she has said that basically, when she, as a legal adult, went and lived at the Playboy Mansion, she was brainwashed. She was brainwashed.
I must have been brainwashed or something.
Because women want to be treated like children, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll get into that. There's also some stuff regarding Kendra Wilkinson. I watch a lot of old television, so it's funny because I see a lot of stuff that involves just how relevant Playboy was in the cultural zeitgeist back in the 90s and early 2000s. So it's weird now to see the way that history is being rewritten against the culture, which at one time supported it very heavily. And then also a female comedian just decided to take her top off and free the nip at a comedy show.
To prove that, women can do everything that men can do or something.
They can take their shirts off too.
It's artistic.
Yes, it's very artistic. So we're going to get into that. We got a bunch of other stuff. So guys, Yeah, hit the like button on this video. We want to get to 100,000 subscribers really soon, so subscribe if you have not done so already. That would be fantastic. If you're ready, Mary, we can just get into it because we got a pretty long intro segment here. You ready?
Let's just blow through it.
Let's we'll do it like an auctioneer and just get through it as quickly as possible. All right, first things first, guys. If you are still hungover from the crappy third Jurassic World movie, okay, I liked it, everybody else hated it, but I understand that my tastes don't speak to the majority. I thought it was fine. It was stupid, but it was fine. Okay, well, they're making another Jurassic World movie, this time with David Kopp, who of course wrote the first two Jurassic Park movies. 1 and 2 back in the 90s, 93 and 97 or something like that.
And he was not involved in the last one. Look, after seeing Jurassic World Dominion, I've seen enough.
Yeah.
Like, I'm done. You know? Just if you like the original, rewatch the original. Did Jurassic World Dominion even make money?
Yes, it did.
It did?
Yeah, it did. Yep.
Shocking.
All of those movies ended up making a fair amount of money, which is kind of interesting. And I'm just double checking.
Well, are they going to have an Elon Musk character this time instead of
I hope. I mean, hopefully.
Who's the gay CEO of Apple?
Hopefully, what is it? Tim Cook.
Tim Cook.
Is that his name?
Yes. Yeah. Instead of a Tim Cook villain, they're gonna have the Elon Musk villain.
I'm resetting. I'm just double checking, making sure that our the crisis meter is might not be working today. It doesn't look like it's updating, so I just have to go through this and double check it to make sure. So guys, we may not have.
Should I message Chris Poole?
You can message him. I don't know how big of a deal it is. I can set it off manually if need be, but it doesn't look like it's reacting or it's responding today. So that might be a problem here. So that's all right. All right, so yeah, I thought the first Jurassic World movie was fine and did okay, and all of them did make money, but I don't think they needed to go back to this well, especially not so soon, considering this was just last year that this came out.
No, it was 2022.
I keep forgetting it's 2022.
Time is passing,
yes.
And this is their 2025 release date, so that'll be a good chunk of time between them, but
you know, this is Universal, and Universal keeps winning. They keep making movies that people want to go and see. We may not find much to do with it, but the Universal stays winning.
I should have seen the Mario Bros movie.
I would still rather watch this than anything coming out of Disney these days.
Yeah, that's fair. I actually thought the original Jurassic Park was owned by Disney.
I don't believe so.
No?
I mean, maybe it is, but it's at Universal now. So, I would still rather watch this than anything coming out of Disney these days. Universal stays winning above and beyond. Mm-hmm. All right, guys, this is a shocker for a lot of people. So WWE, they went with so they shop around every couple of years. Their shows come up for TV rights where they move them around from network to network, right? And WWE Raw is moving from terrestrial television over to Netflix in a $5 billion deal that will span 10 years.
So this is the first live broadcast that'll be on Netflix?
Yeah, no, because yes, on Netflix, but they do have other deals with Peacock for some of their other shows for their Thursday night show, and those rights don't end anytime soon. So it says Netflix has dabbled in live broadcast over the last year or so, and now the company has announced a long-term deal with WWE to host its headline weekly show, Monday Night Raw, starting next year. This is the first time Monday Night Raw, which broadcasts live every week, is leaving terrestrial linear television, as it has been #1 rated for NBC Universal's USA Network and has tie-ins with Peacock, which is, of course, an NBC property. The deal is even more comprehensive outside of the U.S., where Netflix is also obtaining the rights to WWE shows like SmackDown and NXT, plus monthly premium shows, so like their pay-per-views, or at least what used to be called pay-per-view. Was pay-per-view around when you were young?
When I was young, yeah.
Pay-per-view was a thing. So like they're also getting the rights to WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and the Royal Rumble, things like that. NBC Universal's Peacock still has the rights locked down for the live events in the U.S. So Netflix will have the rights to those events outside of America, and then in the rest of the world, it's on Peacock.
Okay. And then what was it that happened with Amazon then? Okay, Amazon has UFC?
I would imagine that.
Or am I getting things mixed up?
That might be something. No, we have the MrBeast story about Amazon, but that deal wouldn't have closed yet. What's funny about this is what I was thinking about is like one of the things that people hate is like Monday Night Raw used to be 2 hours and now it's 3, and it's so freaking long. I don't know who has the time to watch it every week, but it's really funny because they point out that like wrestling as a show is designed around commercial breaks. right? So a lot of times they'll go to commercial while they're still in the middle of a match, and then they'll come back and the match is still going on. And the wrestlers know this. This is communicated to them in the ring. So a lot of times they'll do filler parts here. So like they'll do rest holds where it's like they'll sit in a chin lock for like 2 minutes because it gives them time to rest, and it doesn't matter because they're not on camera. Now you'll just...
Well, that sucks for the people who are watching...
It's
live.
It's a little bit more fun when you're live because a lot of times they'll interact with the audience. Like the bad guy will talk smack to the people in the crowd and stuff like this. But what's funny is like I was like, what are they going to do if there's no ads? Because most people who have Netflix don't have the ad tier. I was like, what is going to happen? So so Alex Sherman says, for Netflix subs that don't get ads, Raw matches will be scripted around the commercial breaks, just like they were before. So you'll get like non-important moments like sustained headlocks and shin locks while you're watching live.
That's a fun thing.
It'll be weird. But this is a really big deal considering that now more than ever, like when you go into a lot of the streaming services, you'll notice that there's a live television tab for most of these streaming shows. Like Peacock is all like anytime I open the Peacock app, it's got like the whatever football game is on right now, whatever live TV is on right now. It's slowly becoming more and more common to just watch television on these apps than on an actual television itself, like on an actual cable program itself.
Yeah, because TV is dead.
Yes, and nobody actually cares about television, or at least on like anytime what was it, like I was at a hotel like last year when the power was out because the power was out for like a couple of days, and it was like watching TV was just torture.
Really? I like it.
The commercial breaks were a special form of torture for me.
I don't know. I like watching commercials for personal injury lawyers.
Have you ever bought anything from
big
from
pharma
a
commercials?
Have you ever bought anything from a commercial?
No.
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 I'm gonna message Chris.
I did message Chris though. We're just doing.
Oh, it looks like it picked up there. Okay.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, we got it there. Looks like we're all right.
We've got it.
All right. We got a $20 one there. It says this is from Joe Watlin. Says, if boomers are the generation that came from children of vets from World War II, what is the generation that existed before Generation X? This is driving me crazy. Sorry for the random comment. That is a good question. I mean, so would that make them, what was it, the forgotten generation?
Gen X?
Yeah. So what came before Gen X? Is that only boomers?
Yeah.
Is that something in between there?
Boomers, then Gen X, then millennials, then Z.
That makes
then
sense
Alpha.
Because as your lifespan has expanded, has gone up, and we're not just living until 40 or 50 now. You can have kids later and later, especially like the men, right? Like my brother is Gen X and I'm technically Gen Z. Or I'm sorry, I'm millennial.
I know you're not Gen Z.
So like you could have parents that that had children from both generations.
I guess the only reason that we differentiate between generations now and why that's not arbitrary, I mean, it is arbitrary, but the only reason it's arguably not arbitrary now is because we grew up with different technology. That's literally the only difference between us.
People think silent generation came before the boomers. I said forgotten generation.
I thought it was the greatest generation that came before the boomers, and then before the greatest generation was the silent generation.
So silent, greatest, boomers.
Yeah.
Gen X,
then millennials. Yeah.
Okay. These are.
I don't know what comes after Gen Alpha. Hopefully we get consumed by a meteor before that.
Yeah, like this is one of those things. Also, much like the term woke, I hate having the generational debate because everyone could give you 5 different years as to when these generations started and stopped specifically.
Yeah, like no one can agree on when they start and stop. I think that I'm going to just say 1996 is the beginning of Gen Z. That's kind of the widely
How old would they
agreed
be
upon.
now?
26, I think. Math.
28?
27? I'm not good at math.
Yeah.
We're not.
Math is hard.
Math is tough. Math class is tough.
Also, guys, on top of this, this is really funny. The Rock joins the board and gets ownership of his name back, which is really, really funny. So he joined the board of TKO, which is the company that bought WWE. It's the one that Endeavor owns. Because they own both UFC and WWE. And he's announced that he's the latest board member, which is going to give him like $30 million in stock options. And he gets ownership of his name back, which is why he had to start going by Dwayne Johnson because WWE owns the rights to the name The Rock. Fun fact, they also own the rights to the name John Cena. So whenever John Cena makes a movie,
That's his legal name.
They get a cut of everything John Cena does.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like it should be allowed.
Yep, they get a cut. When I read that, I was like, holy, can you imagine being him and you just have to fork over like a part of your
He didn't read the
paychecks?
fine print.
No. So he gets to keep it. I don't know if he doesn't even need it now. It's not like he needs to go back to The Rock. I see no point for him to go and do that. That doesn't really make any sense. He's more famous than he ever was as a wrestler now. So, all right, guys. Speaking of Mr. B, did you read the Kotaku? Did I send you the Kotaku article?
No, but apparently a lot of people are very angry because Mr. Beast made $250,000 in ad revenue off of posting one of his videos to X instead of just YouTube. And he said that it's a bit of a facade. This isn't what you can expect if you post your videos to X. He said it's because advertisers saw the attention it was getting and they bought ads on my video, and thus my revenue per view is probably higher than what you'd experience. And he just got a boost from Elon Musk himself.
Maybe I'm just like, I didn't know you could buy ads on specific videos.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and other people were saying they saw his video as an ad. So
the other thing that's funny about this, it's not just that Mr. Beast stays winning as well. He also is supposedly closing a $100 million TV deal with Amazon to make a show similar to like his Squid Game show. But you have to read, like, this is the most biased and like cringy, like really salty article I've read in a long time. So I'm gonna read this to you. It's really funny. It says, James Donaldson, aka Mr. Beast, the YouTuber who does weird charity videos, aka the guy who sold me a terrible burger, is reportedly close to signing an estimated $100 million deal with Amazon to create a competition series on the company's Prime Video streaming service. So that's one jab they've already taken at him. Remember, this is the most inoffensive person in history. According to a new report from Puck News, the 25-year-old content creators team went out recently and pitched a show to streaming platforms. Apparently, according to Puck News, Amazon won the bidding war, is now close to signing a deal with Mr. Beast, who has 233 million subscribers on YouTube that could potentially be worth $100 million. They got through one paragraph without saying anything crappy about him.
Incredible.
Specific details about the TV show aren't known yet, but one source told Puck News that it's a competition show and the first episode of the series will premiere on Mr. Beast's popular YouTube channel. After that, future episodes will be available exclusively on Prime Video. It's also reported that other brands will be part of the series, which will likely help Amazon pay for the expensive show. That's assuming the deal is finalized. It's not surprising at all that streaming services who are hungry for content and need to inflate their numbers in as big a way as many keep losing money would be open to a deal with Mr. Beast. The content creator's Squid Game competition series on YouTube was a massive hit, and his videos where he helps blind people see for the first time have racked up hundreds of millions of views as well, even though there's a lot of controversy around his charitable videos and how many people find them exploitative and gross.
Weird charity videos.
And why does this need to be part of this article anyways? Like, what does this have to do with it? All his success has led Mr. Beast to expand his empire, starting with Mr. Beast Burgers in 2020, which served up some nasty food. So nasty, in fact, that Mr. Beast himself sued the company. The company then turned around and sued him. His most recent venture is a line of candy bars, and that's just the end of the article. Oh, and it says, I ate one. It was fine. I'd like to not have to think about Mr. Beast anymore. Could you editorialize any more on like a random article about a dude who might have signed a TV deal?
Remember when we talked about how Jezebel was a failure and they couldn't find a buyer, so they shut down? Yep. They're owned by the same company as Kotaku.
Is it still
and
owned
Vera
by...
Dark said, I really hope Kotaku is next. And it's articles like this that are the reason why.
Yes, absolutely. Like you don't need to editorialize that much, or just don't cover it.
I don't understand, just like I don't understand why everyone hates Chris Pratt, I also don't understand why people hate Mr. Beast.
It's
they're the most inoffensive banana nut muffin people I can think of.
It's Chris Pratt, like I at least like he kind of had his thing happen when he was wearing like the Gadsden flag shirt, was like in the height of like insane mentally handicapped Twitter. Like 2018, Twitter's nuts. Gina Carano's about to get fired in a couple of years. Like we were at like the start of that part of the culture war, and then it just seems like once they catch you one time, it never ends. It's like all it takes, and I kind of understand where people are coming from. Like a lot of times people say like you might as well speak up because they're going to find their way to you eventually. right? When they hate someone, they're going to find their way to you eventually. It's like when they say about Antifa, liberals get the bullet too. Once they find you, and once they've had at least one spurg against your name, and they've just gone after you, then anytime your name re-enters the news, you're once again dragged right back up to it, and all of the articles start coming out again about how much they hate you, even though it becomes like a game of telephone, and by the time it's done, nobody actually knows why.
Yeah. It has to be mentioned in the bylines of every article about you.
Chris Pratt being vaguely religious and whatnot isn't, and it's kind of the same with Mark Wahlberg.
The same way that I don't mind curated, inauthentic videos about women baking cinnamon rolls, I don't mind that MrBeast's charity videos are just wholesome, feel-good content that, doesn't let you in on all of the logistical difficulties, and it's just supposed to be heartwarming.
Does it kind of give you hope for a little bit of the future that his audience is mostly Gen Z? Maybe that just proves that they don't want to watch a bunch of like depressingly polarizing content, that what they want is to watch something that's a bit wholesome.
I guess. I remember when I asked my cousins if they knew who MrBeast was, and they immediately said yes, and their parents looked at me and they were like, who is that? Who is this people Beast really person? Don't know what their kids are consuming on YouTube. But it's definitely not the worst thing in the world. People
were pissed about him getting all this ad revenue, though. I see Alpha Fox here says, you literally got everyone's ad revenue. It's a limited pool. Thanks for that.
They are. Yeah, I did notice a sharp drop in my ad revenue.
Yeah. Thanks, MrBeast.
Thanks, MrBeast. I personally blame you for this.
It's definitely MrBeast's fault that this happened.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being mad at a guy who's literally as inoffensive as anyone on the planet.
I don't understand why he would go for a deal with Amazon, just because, obviously Netflix made their Squid Game show to copy his format.
Yeah.
And I would like for his content to stay independent.
Yeah. I wonder if it's a lot to do with the same way that Netflix or that WWE was talking about. WWE is it's really funny. They have really high production value, right? So they fund all of that. That's all done in-house. So when they do this deal with Netflix, basically they just film the show and then send them the feed or the final product, and then they put it up. It's not like Netflix is funding the production of the show. It's just a licensing deal.
Yeah.
So for him, he gets to produce his videos at the level. It also might allow him to spend even more per series, right? Because he talks about, one of the things he talks about in other videos is the cost that he puts into a lot of these videos, and that a lot of them don't make any money.
Right.
So maybe it just allows him to spend more money on the things he wants to try.
I guess.
I imagine he gets bored after a while.
I imagine he might be losing some creative control.
That would be interesting. I mean, we may end up seeing that down the line, right? But that's the thing, is that really even a worry for somebody who's as milquetoast as him?
Yeah.
What was he going to do that was so crazy that Amazon was like, whoa, better slow it down?
They should just start a show for his charity videos, where they license his charity videos, and they call the series White Savior.
That would be fantastic.
I would love that.
And it's just like a halo comes over his head, and the song Hallelujah starts playing in the background everywhere he walks.
He just rebranded all of those Sarah McLachlan commercials.
Yep. For dogs and cats.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So yeah, just take a look out for that. We'll see if he ends up signing this deal. He's a fantastic businessman. There's absolutely no doubt about that, given all his other ventures. All right, guys. What else did we got? Do you want to? Okay, so you're gonna have to explain to people why this is funny.
Okay, guys. Selena Gomez just posted a photo of herself from back when she was skinny in her 20s. I don't know exactly when this photo was taken, but here she is in a bikini. She has a great body, and she's gained a lot of weight since then. And she captioned it, "Today I realized I will never look like this again, ...
That's very defeatist.
It is, especially for a woman who is only 30 years old. You are still perfectly capable of getting back to this size again, and she's just throwing herself a pity party instead of working on herself and trying to improve. And she also really needs a diary, because the way that she posts on Instagram is just incredibly oversharing with everyone. all the time.
But that's why she's successful on there. Isn't she like the most followed account on Instagram, or she was at one point the most followed account on Instagram? That will never make any sense to me.
Her global appeal.
That will never make any sense to me.
Yeah. And
she's not considered, like, I don't feel like she's that famous outside of social media. I mean, I know she is.
Well, she's Latina.
She's not spoken of in the same breath as some of these other celebrities.
She's Latina, so she has more of a global South appeal.
Okay.
Like, you know, her last name's Gomez. And, you know, her Disney show was really relevant to people in my generation, but I don't understand the appeal of her personality. She just seems like a very like bitter person. And you know, you're 31 or whatever, you've never had children. There's no reason to act like you're elderly, and there's no point in caring about how you look anymore. That's just bizarre.
Well, maybe what will happen is like a couple years, like what I imagine would happen is like eventually a couple years go by and you realize that even at once she hits like 34 or 35, she's like, I got a lot of life left to live. Maybe it's time I stop whining and start doing something about it.
Doesn't matter how old you are, in my opinion. You should always try to look your best.
I'm just saying she could be going through, but she's been known to have, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong because I don't follow this type of stuff. Has she had the weight fluctuation before?
She's just gained weight over the years, and if you point it out, people get really aggressive because she has an autoimmune disease. But that doesn't, you know, it's just like, you know, it's my thyroid, whatever. You know, whatever her best looks like, she should strive for that instead of, you know, being a crybaby.
I think I hear the Ozempic calling.
Yes, Ozempic.
It's here. It's here to save the day for you, Selena. Don't do it. Don't do it. Just go and work out.
I can't believe people who take Ozempic are shocked when they get off the medication and gain all the weight back, or they gain even more weight than they had to begin with.
Yeah.
It's because you took the easy way out. You didn't work out or eat better in order to lose weight. You changed nothing about your lifestyle and made yourself sick.
Well, I wonder if it's just for her. It could just be diet. Like that's like
probably
for me. Like most of it comes from just like I get a good amount of physical activity, but it's just like when you don't eat healthy, it ends up. It hurts you, and it gets a lot harder. Like most of the people that I know that are very, very into fitness will say, like, before you even worry about that, worry about your diet. Fix what you're eating first, and you'll see results very, very quickly if you can, you know, try to get rid of as much of the processed foods as you can. I won't even get into the seed oils. Cernovich was talking about seed oils yesterday. It was really, really funny. But the point is, you know, get rid of the processed foods.
No, you literally just need to eat less calories. It's simple thermodynamics, but I don't think she needs advice on that. She needs advice on her attitude.
Yeah, and that's the sad thing is sometimes the attitude's the hardest part to fix. Yeah. Once you can fix the attitude, I mean, I actually think attitude goes a long way to describing what we were talking about yesterday with the Nara Smith situation. Like how you perceive somebody else's actions can say, like I said, it says a lot more about you and your attitude than it does necessarily about the person you're watching. Mm-hmm. Even though you said there was another video today where she's wearing an equally as ridiculous outfit.
Yeah, and I don't care. I'm here for it. I think people are panicking for no reason about Heroin Chic coming back because when was this taken? Like 2012 or something? This isn't Heroin Chic. This is just a woman who's in good shape.
Yep.
And that's what we should celebrate.
Yep.
In my opinion.
All right, guys. So, you know, hopefully she'll clean up her diet and hit the gym.
Yeah, we would love to see that.
All right, tell us what's going on with SpongeBob.
Okay, this is so ridiculous. There's a new SpongeBob movie coming out that's about Sandy Cheeks, the squirrel. So I assume she's going to be a girl boss. And
Squirrel boss.
A squirrel boss. I love that. And the entire movie leaked on Twitter a couple of days ago, and it's supposed to release on Netflix. And I don't know how this keeps happening to them.
Somebody's getting fired.
Yeah, how does this keep happening? They got copyright struck all over all of these posts, but I still saw a ton of clips of it. Apparently Squidward is gonna be gay in this movie.
Does that shock anybody?
Does that shock anybody? There have been extensive theories about whether SpongeBob is gay, whether Squidward is gay, and
so let's just
guys, they're fictional sea creatures that live in Bikini Bottom.
So just Squidward is gay, but not SpongeBob?
Well, SpongeBob lives in a pineapple under the sea. That means he's a swinger, right?
I guess that makes.
So pineapples are the secret symbol of swingers.
So the video we did for Cringe a while back about swingers upon Maine, they've turned that into a video series now.
Amazing.
It's like a Instagram channel called A Twink and a Redhead. I'm not even kidding you. That's the name of the channel.
Name a more iconic duo.
I'll wait. And they make a bunch of funny videos about being swingers at Disney now.
We should have them on the show.
It would be. I have a strong feeling that they probably wouldn't agree with most of our content, but it would be funny to hear them talk about it. But yeah, it's really, really funny.
Also, I know that you're a millennial Gen X cusp. And you didn't grow up with SpongeBob, and you don't appreciate its cultural significance the way that I do. I grew up on SpongeBob, like in the golden era of its first few seasons. And this was like the last good kids show that adults could also watch and find funny, because it had jokes in there that, were a wink and a nod to the adults in the audience that they would understand, but didn't bombard children with themes that were not appropriate for them. Like they live in Bikini Bottom. And there's a squirrel named Sandy Cheeks. Like, it's pretty on the nose. But this doesn't seem like Netflix is doing a good job of keeping their projects under wraps.
No, like I imagine somebody's getting fired. Unless, I guess they could have been hacked, but even then your security team should be fired.
Who did this? They just say it's an X account named The Indicator.
It's good.
So,
and also, tell us about Toaster Guy.
There is a Twitch streamer who recently went viral for sticking forks in a toaster and electrocuting himself and shitting his pants in the process as he flew into the air. And they banned him for this.
This is absolutely Darwinism at work.
Yeah. I mean, I can only assume that he broke their community guideline against promoting self-harm. So here's their letter to them. We reviewed your video and we're concerned about you. If you're struggling or feeling unsafe, please reach out for help, talk to someone you trust, or contact your doctor and go to the hospital.
I like the idea that it's not a community guideline strike, it's an intervention.
Yeah, this guy needs an intervention. And he posted the clip and he said, I actually thought using 2 toasters would cancel each other out.
This has to be fake. Right?
Let's look at the clip.
Somebody points out, says, I heard it was fake. That's what I heard. I heard that this wasn't real, that this is rigged, but it
looks pretty real to me.
Let's watch it.
Wait, that's down. Okay, oh my god. Alright. So chat, 2 toasters should cancel each other out? Alright.
No. Here we go.
Death Wish!
Yeah.
It's totally fake.
You can see in that frame, in the freeze frame, you can see that he shit his pants in midair. Nightmarish.
Fake. It's got to be fake, right?
And he did say death wish before electrocuting himself, so that's pretty clearly promoting self-harm behavior on the platform, which they cannot tolerate.
The Undertaker says Australia isn't sending their best. Absolutely.
His name is Boggles, if you guys want to look into this.
I feel like it's got to be fake, but now that's my general idea for most of the stuff we cover these days. Most of it's fake.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks real to me, but I guess good job on faking it if he did. And he said, I got banned for the toaster clip. Please, at Twitch support. It was an honest mistake. I don't know what to do right now. Help. And I guess he's moving over to Kick now.
Gear Tooth Cartoon says, would it even stain that fast? That's a very good point.
It's not, I mean, look at it. Look at the frame. Look at the freeze frame. That seems realistic to me.
Let me go through. Hold on.
That freeze frame right there. Can you really? Do you think he pre-stained his pants?
I like the idea that he did it in post, that he that he used After Effects to do this.
I don't know.
I'm calling fake. I'm just gonna. I think it's better to just err on the side of fake nowadays, so that way you're never had. Then it's a tip of the cap for when it's real, but you're never caught when it's fake.
This is what you have to do if you're a male streamer. You can't just rely on sex appeal to get viewers. You have to...
Sometimes you have to be sexy and stupid.
You have to be stupid. You're in the stupid Olympics.
But believe it or not, the internet isn't actually causing us to get smarter. It's causing us as a society to get unbelievably stupid.
Yeah.
Unless he faked it, in which case it's unbelievably clever, which means he's unbelievably smart at being unbelievably stupid, which seems like that actually does cancel itself out, much like the two toaster method that he's trying to employ.
Yeah, he's actually Machiavellian.
All right. What would you like to see? Would you like to see cringe or cute of the day?
Let's see cute first.
Okay, we'll go with cute first. We can do that. Remember, guys, you can send in all of your cute of the day submissions to hashtag PCCPets. Tag me in there. That way I will always be able to see them. It helps when you do that. This is from a Booster. Says, I've posted them separately before, but they're so much cuter together. Harley and River.
Aw.
That is, hold on, let me make that full screen there.
They're
That is
cuddling.
cute.
He's a little snowball.
Yes. All right, let's do one more here. Let's X that out. This is from Corey. Says, my boy Barles, like Charles, aka Barley, went for a walk. We got like 4 inches here in Columbus. It snowed out.
See, I know you're triggered right now
Oh,
because
I
he
am.
put his dog in a sweater, but I think
Don't
it's
put
cute.
your pets in. Your pets are humiliated when you put them in clothes, ladies and gentlemen. That's what the poll should be tomorrow.
But
It
they're
should be-
twinning.
The poll tomorrow should be like, is it humiliating to put your pets in clothes? I think it is.
I think it's cute. I have no problem with this.
All right, let's look at the cringe of the day then, shall we?
Yes, this guy tried to get a tattoo of Lara Croft, and here's what he got. Here's the big reveal. Spot on. This is just a spitting image.
Maybe you hired a caricature artist to do it.
Realism puro, mano.
Yeah, I like that they took artistic liberties. Whoa, the veins in her hands?
Looks just like her.
Yeah.
Não ficou.
Looks just like her. That looks just like Laura Croft to me.
He also
Lara Croft.
switched the little hair pieces to be on the other side. That's the main difference that I see. But other than that, perfect.
Spot on, ladies
Yeah.
and gentlemen. Also, I found this worst drip of all time. It's a keyboard jacket.
Wait.
I don't know where anybody or why anybody would buy this, but be on the lookout if you meet a person who has that jacket.
I kind of like it.
You like it?
Yeah, where can I cop?
I have no idea where you can cop.
I think that's a serve.
I think I imagine that what you should do is those should all have zippers on them, and you can use it for storage.
You know what? It's Balenciaga. it's probably something that they would do.
Probably. All right, we got a $20 one here from Not That John Stewart. It says, as an electrician, it wouldn't spark / explode like that. If it was real, it would have likely killed him,
Oh.
or some protection device would have saved him. Like a
So
surge
he
protector.
did fake it.
Yeah, of course. It's the internet.
Have you stuck a fork in a toaster before?
No, I'm not.
I almost did that when I was little and trying to get my Pop-Tart out of the toaster.
So one time,
But I was caught soon enough to save my life.
So one time a couple of years ago, I was skating. It was like in the middle of the winter. I was skating this rail in Minneapolis, and the stairs, like it was at this building where the stairs had like built-in lighting in the stairs. You know, like it'd been hollowed out, and there were lights there. This was in the middle of winter. It's snowing, and one of the lights had like it was like cracked.
Yeah.
And so like I sat down and my hand touched it, and it like I felt the current go up my back, and like I couldn't breathe for like 3 to 5 seconds. It was crazy. Like
What?
but
You
it was-
tased yourself.
basically without realizing, because I didn't realize the stair had that it was cracked and that it was dangerous. Not good, ladies and gentlemen. All right,
Yikes.
let's go ahead and get started then, shall we? Mary, do you want to tell everybody
Yeah.
what the hell's going on with Star Wars Theory?
It was a slow day for news at Rolling Stone, so one of their journalists decided to defame a YouTuber. He goes by Star Wars Theory. He's got like 3.5 million subscribers. They defamed this man and said that he claims women don't belong in Star Wars. He doesn't think that they belong in Star Wars movies or in the Star Wars fandom, and essentially girls have cooties and ew. And we can defame nerds for this reason. Here's the title. His guest said women don't like Star Wars. He agreed and sparked an internet debate. Popular streamer Star Wars Theory has brought back a familiar, if unwelcome, internet discourse. And here's the reality of what happened. He has a separate channel where he does podcasts, and he had a psychologist on named Sadia Khan, and she talks a lot about dating and relationship coaching and stuff like that. And she basically said that there's no reason for this push for women to be the center of stories in male-dominated fandoms.
There's a $20 one here from Joe Watland. Says, so technology is making generations smaller as time goes on. I just got to get this. I got to get this straight in my own head. Yeah. Sorry to bother you. I love watching you guys do your thing. I get like
yes, the faster that technology changes, the more different experiences will be between generations. That's why you have to keep slicing them into smaller and smaller portions, I guess. So here is her direct quote. She derided Hollywood directors for centering female stories within male-dominated fandoms. It's not outlandish to claim that Star Wars has a male-dominated fandom. And here's her quote. Do we need more women in Star Wars? No, we don't. And women don't even watch Star Wars. They don't even care about it. It's a man's little thing. Let him have it. So she's putting down Star Wars. She's not a fan of it. Also, she lives in the Middle East. So it's not like she would even have that much exposure
Is that where
to Western entertainment. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know
Or she's
that.
at least she's from there.
She's all over Instagram. Like her, like she's all over. Like she's one
and
of those,
she's not talking about pop culture.
No,
she
never.
talks about
relationships,
dating, relationships, and psychology and stuff like that. So this is not her wheelhouse at all. But she's speaking in generalizations, and what I realized is that people below a certain IQ are not able to think in abstractions. They have to point out the anecdotal evidence. They have to point out that one minority out there who is the exception to the rule, because it really stifles conversation, and that's the entire reason that this whole scandal broke out. And a female Star Wars fan named Olivia, who is 16 years old, decided to use this audio from the interview in a TikTok of hers to clap back at this sentiment.
Do we need more women in Star Wars? No, we don't. Women don't even watch Star Wars. But they don't even care about it. It's a man's little thing. Let them have it. But they want to be like, oh, there's such a deprivation. We got to be in it so they can be a mini hero. When you don't have anything outside of your gender as a way of being proud of yourself, you use your gender as a shortcut for entitlement and heroic stances. Do we need
So here are all of these cringy videos of me at Star Wars Celebration, and I'm female and I'm a fan of Star Wars. So that totally debunks the claim that most Star Wars fans are male. Yeah. And the most ridiculous part of this article is that they're claiming he agreed with the guest. I went back and I looked at the episode, and he only sat there listening to what she said. He smiled and face palmed. He probably didn't agree with what she said, but he didn't chime in to disagree with her. So they interpreted that as him agreeing with her and being a misogynist Star Wars fan.
There's this, I don't know if this is the one that they always link to, but this is in Star Wars fans as of 2019 by gender. So 2019, depending on when it came out, would have been around the time The Rise of Skywalker either came out or
trilogy.
So right here you get avid fan. 32% of men say they are avid fans. 18% of women. 38% of men says they are casual fans. 33% of women say they are not a fan. 30% of men say they are not a fan, and then women, a whopping 49%. Say they are not a fan. Whether any of the I don't like using statistics as an argument most of the time, anyways, because like a good company that authors a study or wants to get the result that they want to get, like depending on sample size, where they get their data from, who they pull. Like I just find that most of the time, common sense is better than dubious statistics, unless you're going from like Pew Research has done a lot of great work with statistics, but most of the time, people always talk about this like with the science, like they can get the outcome that they want, if they want. In this case, just thought I would share this.
Well, if the statistics are changing, if more women are saying that they like Star Wars and less men are saying that they like Star Wars, it's only because they're alienating the original fan base, which was male dominated. It doesn't say much about how well their push for diversity is working for them. And the proof is in the numbers. Like, are these movies successively making more and more money? I don't think that would bear out if we looked at the numbers. So they said, this isn't the first time the Star Wars fandom has dealt with disagreements surrounding racism and sexism within their own ranks.
Which wasn't the point of his discussion with her either.
And he brought up this issue because of the recent comments by the Ray solo film director Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, saying that it's about time a woman shapes the Star Wars universe and that she enjoys making men feel uncomfortable. And that just sounds really bad on the surface level.
Look, to point out that she wasn't, that was not in the context of like a Star Wars discussion, that specific quote. But the point is when that's on the record at all, it makes people think that you're dubious.
Right. Yeah. If you look at his reaction, though, he's made a response video to Rolling Stone, by the way, and he said, if you can find a clip of me where I'm saying that women don't belong in Star Wars, either they don't belong in the fan base or they don't belong in the movies, I will pay you $10,000 because that clip doesn't exist. And in his response video, he said, yeah, I know that women like Star Wars and that there are plenty of women in Star Wars fandoms, and
he said, why didn't people have a problem with Ahsoka? Why didn't people have a problem with the idea of Patty Jenkins directing Rogue Squadron? Why don't people have a problem with Bryce Dallas Howard directing episodes of The Mandalorian? Why don't people have a problem with that? Because the argument they're making is bullshit. And it's stupid. It's also, I do think it does speak to this larger issue now. Like when you do a show like this, or when you do a show like what he was doing, his podcast where he's talking to this person, you're speaking in theoretical terms. I think this is one of the big problems with political discussions in these realms, right? Is that you're always speaking to theoretical ideas that impact a large swaths of people. But most people don't interpret data that way. They're interpreting it in an anecdotal fashion. So there's an automatic and very large divide between how these types of discussions are perceived and how they're conveyed. And like you said, above and below a certain, look, I'm a dummy, and I can understand the idea that back in the day, but now it is literally the thing where it's like when you say I like apples, somebody's like, oh, so you hate oranges then? And as trite as that example is, it's really honest to what the internet is like.
Right. It's the internet lowering people's intelligence, because you could, come on the internet and say Asian men are shorter on average, and someone will reply to you and say, hey, there's this one Asian guy that I know who's 6'5", so you're wrong. And it's just like an IQ thing. It's like, how would you feel if you didn't have breakfast this morning? And they'd be like, but I did have breakfast this morning.
I just think that like there's a divide there with how they interpret information. Like most people use their life experience and the anecdotal evidence to understand the world. So
they're like, this is creating an echo. Yeah. Like they cannot be reached. It is. You can snap your fingers in front of their face. They're not present.
There's a $20 one here from the Undertaker. It says, people love to point to things like Star Wars and say they're male dominated as if that's a bad thing. Men dominate a lot of things, but the ladies are sharp enough to want the ones which don't involve a risk to life and limb. Well, yeah, and then I love when they make the videos where it's like they go to like the man on the street interviews to asking women like, do we need men? And they're like, no, we don't need men. And it's always like overlaid with clips of men on oil rigs and like doing all of the hard jobs that society dictates men to do, because it just wouldn't be possible for women en masse to do them. Again, that doesn't mean there isn't the one or two women on the oil rig. Right?
There's no
that's
push
the exception
for,
and not the rule.
Men to star in, I don't know, chick flicks, right?
I mean, women like stories about romance, so even with chick flicks, men play a pivotal role in those movies.
They do.
Yeah. There's a $20 one here from Not That John Stewart. Says, Kathleen Kennedy, he's yelling, by the way, I'm not going to yell, but he says, Kathleen Kennedy has been ruining Star Wars since Disney bought it. How much more female can it get? Sorry, rant over. Please continue.
Also, you said that this YouTuber Star Wars Theory kind of stays out of the culture war topics.
Maybe it's different now.
I
didn't. I mean, it seemed like the way he was phrasing it, like he didn't have any desire
it sounds
to get
like
into it.
This is the type of person who never wanted to get involved in these kinds of debates, but the culture is just getting so insane that you're kind of forced to reckon with it.
Yep, it's stupid.
He makes content all about Star Wars and keeping up with news about new projects and stuff. And when this director comes out and says that she enjoys making men feel uncomfortable and that women need to start shaping the Star Wars universe, like, he has no choice but to address it. And if you're not all the way like shilling for Disney Star Wars and everything they do and every decision they make, then you become, you get cast on one side of the culture war debate.
Sketch Therapy says he used to, but they tried to put him in a corner. Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
They'll label you, and then you're forced. He, like, even when he made the video about Rolling Stone, he's like, I don't want to do this. This is stupid. Like, he doesn't want to get involved and do this, and I get that. Like, especially if you're like into something that you really, really love, and you're not somebody that's talking about the ins and the outs of the kind of more dramatic sides of these industries, I can understand that there's probably a lot of emotional peace that comes with that, and not wanting to have to get into these debates. I find most of these debates that we have to get into on the channel, I do find it tiresome, and I do find it draining. And if you've got a channel that's as successful as his is, that's not based around that, why would you want to court that type of discussion? It doesn't make any sense. But they're not allowing him to stay out of it.
If you're looking for some female input on what the meaning of Star Wars is, here's one tweet. Anakin Skywalker's story is a cautionary tale of what can happen if someone goes down the path of controlling and abusive behavior, and toxic diehard fans that idolize and act like Darth Vader are a slap in the face to George Lucas. George Lucas, you mean the one who hated the sequel trilogy? Yeah. That George Lucas? Okay, just checking, yeah. Here were some other takes. One said, thank you, Rolling Stone, for pointing out that he agreed with her statement. The biggest Star Wars creator agreeing that women are not real fans and posting that to his platform of 3 million people. Stop supporting the people responsible for the destruction of this community.
Here's
our community.
One of my biggest problems is that word right there.
Everything has to be a community. Everything you go through has to be a journey. People just think and speak in buzzwords now. And if this woman went back and looked at the podcast, it only has 28,000 views. I guarantee not all of the people getting angry about this went and looked at the content. You would see that all he did was sit there and scoff at what she said. And I really don't think he was responsible for debunking her. She's not into Star Wars.
Yeah, the rest of the discussion, it's clear that she didn't really have any knowledge of Star Wars outside of what he kind of led to her, which was the point about, like, it's kind of being pushed for women now, and that's accurate. It's not wrong. She's making a broad generalization.
She kind of just pointed out that victimhood is currency these days, and people feel empowered if they can frame themselves as victims because, if you're not facing any real adversity in life, especially in the West where we're so comfortable, you have to make up an adversity to feel alive.
In the chat, Rhaegar Targaryen says, I love my pop culture crisis community. Please don't call it
community.
Please don't call it a community.
Our fuzzy wuzzy community.
I don't want to be a community.
I
don't want to be a community. I hate that word.
Just because you like Star Wars and Joe Schmo 32 also likes Star Wars, it doesn't mean that you belong to the same community. You consume the same media.
Yep.
There's nothing deep about it. Disparu said, the truth is unwelcome and reality is misogynistic. Disney will get 50-50 viewership in the end, though. All the guys will leave.
Yeah. And the men that will be left will not be the ones that spent all the money on it back in the late 70s and early 80s.
And also Anna, that Star Wars girl, chimed in because, obviously she has to.
Makes perfect sense.
She said, as a woman, she's right that most women typically don't like Star Wars, but that doesn't mean all. It's obvious she herself isn't a fan, so her generalization is one of a normie. Aside from that, everything else she said, from what I saw, was spot on. The victim narrative is a thing, and it's a big reason why the entertainment industry is the way that it is. Yep. No more needs to be said. This guy should probably sue Rolling Stone for defaming him.
I want to see more movies. What I think, oddly enough, would be more successful if they started rigidly making movies for like just make a bunch of movies for guys and watch women actually come to them, because you'll find that, like, if you make a bunch of action movies for guys where the guy gets to be heroic, you might honestly find that women will then flock to the movie to see the man being heroic. because that's a biological response.
Sure.
For a woman to like to see that, right? The reason that men and women love James Bond is because men imagine that they could be James Bond and women imagine they could be saved by James Bond. This isn't rocket science.
I guess the issue here is that when women's spaces get invaded by men, they don't put up a fight. And you can't expect the same response from men when their spaces are invaded by women.
Yeah.
Because they're more likely to
speak up
and assert themselves and say something about how ridiculous this is.
Disco Jensen for $20 says, where did it go there? Kathleen Kennedy did no less than 5 self-inserts in film and shows. The strong woman shtick literally killed the franchise. It's circling the drain, not even being supported by the people it panders to the most. Well, that's an ongoing theme within this stuff, is that oddly enough, the people that they pander to the hardest don't want to spend the money on it the way that the people who once loved it did. There's a reason why when you go to these middle-aged guys' rooms, the people who love this stuff, and they've got shelves upon shelves of toys, or figures, and you know what I mean? Like they support it on another level in a way that a lot of other people don't. The idea that likes and retweets from Yas Queen Slay is going to equate to money is silly, and you should be courting the audience that's willing to pay for your merch. But they're not doing that.
Yep.
And I feel bad. Like I always say, I feel worse for Star Wars fans than just about any demographic of fans that have been kind of abused by these companies, because it does seem to be never ending and it seems to be malicious.
Yeah, I think that these people just need to be sat in front of South Park Panderverse and forced to watch it with their eyes pried open until they get the message. Let's go to Super Chats, though. I think I missed the first one when the crisis meter wasn't working.
Oh,
are you able to see that one?
I corrected it, guys.
Yeah, I just see the one from High Voltage 75.
There was one from Not That John Stewart. It says, Mary looks lovely as always.
Thanks.
Brett is fine, I guess. Let's go.
Let's go.
Thank you. I think.
High Voltage 75 said, what's your favorite dinosaur? Well, dinosaurs aren't real, so I don't know how I could have a favorite one. Do you have a favorite one?
Pterodactyl.
That's a pretty good answer. Mitch McConnell.
There you go.
I don't know, man. Valiant Renegade said, cheers, Pop Culture Crisis.
Oh, Valiant, if you're still watching, I have got your email, and we would like to have you on here, please. We would like to book you out to come out here for a Friday episode so you too can come on and help us make fun of Disney and Marvel.
Didn't you say that Valiant Renegade doesn't show face?
No, he does.
Oh,
he does.
Okay.
There's a lot of YouTubers that don't, though.
Okay. Well, we could offer you a mask.
One day we could do that. Like we could get like the Dream mask or marshmallows.
Yeah, sure.
Granticus. Like, I don't know how you'd hear them. Like, hello, my name is this person. Yeah.
Granticus said, what about Regular Show? I thought that was a great cartoon. I liked Regular Show a lot too.
Let's hold off on the rest and we'll come back after the fact. How about that? All right, Mary, tell us what the hell is going on here with Kim Kardashian.
Kim Kardashian just became an official brand ambassador for Balenciaga, which can only mean that enough time has passed since their scandal, doing an ad campaign where children are holding teddy bears in BDSM bondage gear, showing court documents about the legalization of illustrated CP. She decided it was time to forgive and forget, and all of that is water under the bridge now. So she is endorsing the brand. It says on January 22nd, 2024, Balenciaga announces Kim Kardashian as its brand ambassador. The announcement comes with a portrait by documentary photographer Platon. Over the years, Kim Kardashian has walked the Balenciaga 51st Couture Show, accompanied Demna, their creative director, to the 2021 Met Gala wearing custom Balenciaga, attended Balenciaga runway shows, and co-starred in several campaigns. Quote, for several years now, Balenciaga's designs have been part of my many looks and some of my most iconic fashion moments. This historic fashion house embraces modernity, craftsmanship, and takes an innovative approach to design under Demna. For me, this long-standing relationship is built on mutual trust and a commitment to doing what's right. I'm excited about this next chapter for the brand and to become their ambassador, says Kim of their new appointment.
My favorite thing about like press releases is their ability to just lie. just endlessly lie, bold-faced lie, like without even a second thought about it. Also, the use of the word modernity is like the reddest of red flags.
They embrace modernity. There's no question about that. And they have a commitment to doing what's right.
That is not true.
Elaborate on that.
Yeah,
citation needed.
This is one of those things. Well, that's the thing. Like when you speak like this, and all you're doing is releasing some type of statement, you don't actually have to worry about somebody being like all it takes is the Socratic method for like 2 seconds to be like, could you explain that?
But look, Kim Kardashian and Balenciaga, they believe that they're above questioning, and they don't have to answer to anyone for what they did. We never really got answers about what the hell happened with that campaign and who was responsible for especially those court documents being pictured underneath one of their purses. I mean, even their photographer for that campaign had to speak out because he was getting a ton of hate for it. Yep. And he said, like, I was just there to take the photos. I had nothing to do with set design. I had no idea that those were pictured there.
He was the photographer version of I was just following orders.
He was just following orders, yeah. And their creative director, Demna Gvasalia, was never fired, never faced consequences. And then they launched a lawsuit against the third-party production company, North Six, that supposedly was responsible for set design, and nothing came of that. I can't find any updates on what happened there. And let's just take a trip down memory lane to November 2022 and what Kim Kardashian said about her relationship with Balenciaga after several days of silence, because it's such a morally complicated issue. She can't possibly say something to condemn what they did. Here's what she said at the time. I've been quiet for the past few days, not because I haven't been disgusted and outraged by the recent Balenciaga campaigns, but because I wanted an opportunity to speak to their team to understand for myself how this could have happened. And there's no explanation for how it could have happened, obviously. As a mother of 4, I've been shaken by the disturbing images. The safety of children must be held with the highest regard, and any attempts to normalize child abuse of any kind should have no place in our society, period. I appreciate Balenciaga's removal of the campaigns and apology. In speaking with them, I believe they understand the seriousness of the issue and will take the necessary measures for this to never happen again. As for my future with Balenciaga, I am currently reevaluating how much money I could make off of my relationship with the brand, basing it off their willingness to accept accountability for something that should have never happened to begin with, and the actions I am expecting to see them take to protect children. So what they did as a response, if you remember, is they donated money to nonprofit organizations that are dedicated to helping children. They just, wrote some checks and decided that the news cycle would continue charging on as it always does, and people would forget. And that's exactly what happened.
She's right.
And people ended up making excuses for them because apparently anything is acceptable in the name of art. Yeah, like you can put children in obviously sexually suggestive photos, and if you call it art, then that's an acceptable reason to do that. And nobody talks about this anymore. I respect this decision she made about as much as I respect Kanye's statements about Balenciaga and how he totally forgave them too.
He didn't even forgive them. I don't think he even said that they did anything wrong.
Yeah, he said that, they did nothing wrong, and I'm Christian now, so we have to forgive. That is not what the Christian idea of forgiveness means. You clearly are deciding to give them an excuse because it makes you more money to continue a relationship with this corporation. Yep. I mean, you forgive individuals, not corporations. Corporations don't have values. And they clearly thought that nobody would look closer at these photos. Like the fact that court document, that Supreme Court decision document was sitting right underneath that bag in one of their campaigns. I can't imagine there's any reason to put that there besides subtly nodding to a certain group of elites who abuse children or are complicit in the abuse of children in Hollywood. I can't see any other reasonable explanation for that. And maybe Kim just, you know, doesn't have morals and her only priority is her bottom line. Because, you know, she's a mother. She's supposed to care about the safety and protection of children. And this should be, you know, especially horrific for her to see. But, you know, when it comes to her bank account, it doesn't really matter. And a lot of the comments, it's encouraging to see on her Instagram. They remember that this happened and they said that she's supporting pedophilia, hashtag cancel Kim Kardashian, being a billionaire and still selling out SMH. Like, that's the most insane part of it, is that she has no need for a brand ambassadorship. She has no need for a brand deal. She is a billionaire and has her own brands and her own products. She doesn't need a relationship with this brand, but she's choosing to do it anyway, which, I mean, it only points me to moral bankruptcy, right? Like, a billionaire has no need for a sponsorship deal. She's not just a run-of-the-mill influencer who's getting free products in the mail.
The brand never suffered to begin with. It's not like you saw any real, like, there was some pushback for like a week and that was about it. And then it disappeared from the news cycle.
Yeah, and nobody remembers the fact that Salma Hayek's husband had an auction site with art pieces that were disgustingly pedophilic, showing statues of prepubescent children with genitalia on their faces and participating in sex acts. I mean, nobody brings that up anymore. Salma Hayek has never had to answer a question about that.
I would argue that most to 90% of people don't know that that happened or that exists.
Yeah.
I don't remember anyone but us bringing that up.
Yeah, and people went into Lada Volkova's Instagram. She's linked with Balenciaga and their creative director, who never got fired. And she had disgusting photos of children tied up with duct tape over their mouths in compromising positions, and bloodied babies, and like disgusting gore and sexual imagery of children. And still never an answer for that. Never an answer for that at all.
I mean, this stuff doesn't change the fashion world. It's not going to change at all. All they have to do is wait for the news cycle to change, and the fact that people have short memories. I don't expect them to have morals. I don't expect, as you said, these companies don't have morals. Well, Kim Kardashian is a company, and therefore she cannot have morals either, for the most part. At least I don't buy that they do. Somebody also in the chat said billionaires don't have morals, and I don't expect most people to have morals. For someone like that, what I would hope for is that they do it in the good of public interest, of their image more than anything. I'm not expecting them to act rationally or morally. I'm expecting them to be greedy and self-serving, as most people are. But I would hope that maybe public shame could lead them to the right decision, even if it's not necessarily in their nature to do so. That's just what I believe to be the more realistic. It's less pie in the sky, and understand that a self-serving person worth $1 billion, decrying this company is rarely ever going to be because they're actually finding the acts of the company abhorrent. It's because they understand that their brand will be hurt by doing so. She's a brand, just like Balenciaga's a brand.
Right. Yeah. And I'm not like a tanky socialist on Twitter who thinks that all rich people are evil or anything. But I mean, I'm just thinking about it like if I were in her shoes, as a billionaire with her own brand to worry about. She makes so much money off of her own products that she really is in a position to be choosy about who she makes business partnerships with. So why would it be Balenciaga unless you are complicit in whatever the fuck was going on behind that campaign? Sorry for the language. Here's some more comments. Brand ambassador for an awful company. You definitely have zero morals. And another said, I feel like she's been trying to look more like Bianca Censori lately. Do you feel that way? I think Bianca Censori is trying to look like Kim Kardashian lately.
I see Bianca Censori's photos in the news more than I see Kim Kardashian's, but that's just because that's, Kanye's been relevant again.
Also, it bears mentioning that there are two other celebrity brand ambassadors that were announced here. Nicole Kidman said, Balenciaga has been with me through some of the most memorable events from my life. My wedding to the Oscars red carpet. I'm excited to work with Balenciaga as an ambassador and look forward to creating more memories together. And Nicole Kidman was, when this whole scandal popped off, defending Balenciaga before there was any context provided. Yeah, she's a bad person. And then Michelle Yeoh is also a brand ambassador for Balenciaga in this new press announcement.
The other thing that should be pointed out is that most of the time they're not going to be held to account anyways, because when they give these interviews and stuff like this, none of the press are going to bring up these scandals and actually try to get a real answer out of them. I guess you could say that people on social media will try to hold them to account, but most of them probably don't run their own social media accounts anyways, and you can just ignore it. But you're not going to get sound bites of some interviewer asking them the hard questions. Just like when they end up making Rust a movie and finishing Rust as a movie, you're not going to hear a reporter ask Alec Baldwin, hey, so did you intend to shoot Helena Hutchins? The media, because
the media is bought and
the
paid
media
for.
is not going to push back on them.
Yeah, and I did go down the rabbit hole once again and found the set designer from North 6 that presumably was personally responsible for the photos and the court document being on set. And his name is Nicolas Desjardins. And directly after this happened, literally the month after the scandal, he was hired by Beyonce to set design for her album cover art, and not a word was spoken about it.
But so, Beyonce had the Me Too, like the Me Too
probe. I guess
checks.
that doesn't include PDF files.
Guess not.
Yeah. So yeah, I just want to say that Kim Kardashian is the avatar for everything that is wrong with our culture.
Sadly, this scandal was never going to be big enough to actually cause damage to any of these companies. We can rail against the idea that it should be, but I never thought that this was going to blow up in the way that a lot of people thought, that I felt like a lot of people said that it would. I just see these things as, first of all, it's a fashion brand, and it's already going to be something that's going to seem mildly inaccessible to the average husband and wife in the suburbs who've got kids, right?
At least Brittany Aldean felt like making a post where she was throwing away her Balenciaga products.
Even that was performative and is annoying to me. Like,
at least it's performative in the direction of, yeah, we don't like child abuse.
The like the husband taking the photo of her like throwing the stuff out. I was like, just make the statement.
If you're gonna be performative, I'd rather you be performative in the direction of, we don't like pedophilia. That's probably a good idea.
These brands are just, they're never going to suffer the way that we want them to, or that you'd want them to, because they're just never going to get the public scrutiny. Because a fashion brand, this isn't Target, this isn't, even Bud Light is more accessible to the average person, right? So when Bud Light has their scandal and there's a boycott from people, that's going to hit them harder than the rich people who are not going to buy Balenciaga, because that's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's just never going to happen.
Yeah,
the people that could actually make that type of boycott work aren't the ones buying Balenciaga anyways.
Right.
So it wouldn't matter.
Right. Let's go to Super Chats. Tacti Platty said, Mary, Brett, and I are Zennials.
Zillennial.
Zillennials or Zennials? This is with an X, so that means you're between Gen X and Millennial. And then the Zillennials are the ones who are between Gen Z and Millennial. It's all a little bit too convoluted. High Voltage 75 said, I never cooked my Pop-Tarts. Is that weird?
Nah.
I think that's weird. I always toasted them. Benjamin Mauser said, Star Wars is ruined. Who cares about it anymore?
Yeah.
That's what most of the original fans say, is that they're just checked out. They're not paying attention anymore.
Let's do one more.
Olivia Claire said, Mary, I found the keyboard coat. It does go hard and I think I need it. A little expensive, but worth it. I can get you the link, LOL. I don't know. It depends what you mean by a little expensive.
How expensive is a little expensive? Don't waste your money on something like that. That's
if it's Balenciaga, I will not buy.
Yeah, that's a perfect compromise right there. All right. What's going on with Crystal Hefner? Apparently she's been brainwashed.
Yeah. The former Playboy models of the Playboy Mansion have started writing a revisionist history of what happened there. They are now claiming that they were victims of Hugh Hefner, and Crystal Hefner, his ex-wife, his widow, is claiming that she must have been brainwashed or something to put up with being controlled under his watch all those years.
I thought women's brains matured faster than men's.
Who told you that?
I thought, did somebody tell me that? I thought,
Feminism probably told you that.
I thought women's brains supposedly matured faster than men's. Shouldn't she have been fine?
So, just for background, she married Hugh Hefner in 2012 when she was 26 years old and he was 86. And she ended up becoming more so his caretaker toward the end of his life. Like, literally imagine cleaning up Hugh Hefner's bedpans and taking him to doctor's appointments. That is not enviable in any way. And you know, initially after he died in 2017, she says that she never wanted to say a bad word about him. And in fact, he made her promise to only say good things. And that is now the title of her tell-all memoir that is on sale starting today.
Where she says not nice things.
It's called Only Say Good Things, Surviving Playboy and Finding Myself by Crystal Hefner. And I want to read a little bit of the description of this book. It's a raw and unflinching look at the objectification and misogyny of the Playboy Mansion, a woman's stolen young adulthood, and her journey to self-acceptance, and a rare look inside Hugh Hefner's final days. At just 21 years old, Crystal's life changed forever when she attended a party at the notorious Playboy Mansion. Picked out of the crowd by Hugh Hefner, she became one of his infamous girlfriends, attending glamorous Hollywood parties and traveling the world. That sounds horrific, Crystal. Hef controlled his girlfriends with strict rules regarding everything from their hair and makeup to their curfews, and Crystal was forced to compete with other women for her spot in the highly hierarchical system. Living at the mansion, she felt more like a fixture than a resident. She quickly rose to the top, but being Hef's #1 girlfriend came at the cost of her identity outside of her role in the Playboy universe. Her fate seemed sealed when Hef surprised her with a marriage proposal she couldn't imagine refusing. But as Crystal Hefner, she grew increasingly restless to understand who she truly was away from what she was in Playboy's toxic culture. In Only Say Good Things, Crystal offers a vulnerable look at how her experience with Hugh Hefner catalyzed her transformative journey from someone who prized external validation over all else to a person who finally recognizes her true worth. This candid memoir provides a fascinating look behind the scenes at a powerful cultural icon and brand, and an equally empowering perspective on hard-won lessons about how we allow who we allow to determine our value. And she also did an interview with the New York Times, doing press for this tell-all memoir. She called the Playboy Mansion a creeper's paradise. Yeah.
Weird Al should make his own version of that.
A creeper's paradise. She said that she's still adjusting to life outside of the Playboy Mansion, and she said she was rewarded for being small. She's been trying to shed the conditioning that she endured within its walls. Coming into power is a work in progress, she said. And she says she's still mining the trauma that she experienced there. At the time, I must have been brainwashed or something. I don't think that you were brainwashed. I think that you made trade-offs and exchanges in your own dignity in order to get fame and money and status. And if you found that degrading, you would be correct, but it doesn't mean that it was entirely foisted upon you against your will.
There was a statement here that she made to People magazine. After his passing, Crystal told People magazine that Hugh gave her direction and taught her kindness. He changed my life. He saved my life. He made me feel loved every single day. Men, the women are lying to you. It doesn't matter what they're saying to you now. They're very likely going to change their tune later. At least if you're 60 or if you're 80 and you're marrying a 20-year-old.
Look, I don't mean to suggest in any way that Hugh Hefner was a good person. I think anyone with common sense would know that this guy was a hedonistic degenerate of the highest order. And he probably did a lot of bad things and is rotting in hell right now. That's not a controversial statement. But what I find so interesting about this is that the Playboy brand really branded itself as something that was emancipatory for women. It was essential to the sexual liberation movement and the sexual revolution. And Hugh Hefner kind of branded himself as a feminist. Like, he was freeing women from all of these oppressive ideas about sexuality, and if they really were freed from the shackles of repressive purity culture and religion, then they would become one of his girlfriends. And that's a lie that still is pervasive today, despite the fact that all of this revisionist history is coming out about the Playboy Mansion. The only way that you can redefine it, I guess, is to call him a misogynist. And that's, to me, is such an understatement for all of the evil that he did in this world. I mean, he was a feminist. He did believe in the sexual liberation of women. And the only question is whether you think that was a good thing. And all of these people who are exposing Playboy, they still are clinging to the idea that the sexual revolution was a good thing, but this was just, executed poorly. When really it shows, dehumanization and degradation of the human person was an essential part of the sexual revolution in sexual liberation. But we're not really ready for that conversation as a culture, clearly. And I don't know if without Hugh Hefner's influence, all of these women would have ended up on OnlyFans or selling their bodies on the internet. He could have never, predicted that. But no doubt the world would have been a better place had he never had this influence. I just don't want to absolve these women of their participation in this culture, because without them, it couldn't have happened. And I think that exposing Playboy has become its own cash cow and its own grift. All of these former Playboy models, the Playmates, have come out with their memoirs. They're producing television shows. Like, just a couple of years ago, A&E produced this TV series called The Secrets of Playboy and made money off of that. There's another show coming out that's executive produced by another former Playmate named Holly Madison called The Playboy Murders. And she also put out her own memoir called Down the Rabbit Hole: Curious Adventures and Cautionary Tales of a Former Playboy Bunny. And that was all the way back in 2015, before Hugh Hefner died. And I just saw another interview of Kendra Wilkinson, another former Playmate, who said that she was traumatized. She was controlled and exploited, and she was one of the youngest girls who moved into the mansion. I don't lack sympathy for what they went through, but let's not act like they didn't choose to be there. I mean, this isn't, I feel like they're trying to frame Andrew Tate in the same light as Hugh Hefner. Like, all of these women are choosing to live on a compound in Romania and have an OnlyFans account, and they're claiming that they have been held hostage. When in reality, they're there for the money and they're there for the fame, and they could leave anytime they wanted to. Same situation for these women. They said, I narrowly escaped the Playboy Mansion. You could have left any time that you wanted to. You went in by choice in this degenerate world. And it's really sad that it's embarrassing that feminism basically convinced women that all of these things that primarily benefit men are things that free them and empower them. Like, yeah, sleep with guys on the first date. Like, that's empowering. And then the male feminists are like, yeah, that's a really good idea. You should be empowered in your sexuality, so you put out for me without committing to you. And selling your body on OnlyFans. All of the male feminists are going to support that. It's just it's so embarrassing what has happened to women. And we're just like this hollow husk of like what a vision of femininity used to be. It's really sad. Like, I do feel bad for them, but I don't think that they're intentionally lying. What they're doing is they're lying to themselves.
Yeah. I think what it is for a lot of it is back then the idea of that men and women would take responsibility for their own actions was a lot more prevalent, and nowadays women have learned that you don't have to take responsibility for your own actions. You can decry the person who's dead and can no longer defend themselves, and say that this was done to you because there's a market for that. Back in the early 2000s when this culture was prevalent, I don't think it would have gotten the same play. I don't think that these types of stories would have carried the same weight that they do now, because the culture has demanded that these types of stories be treated as if they're 110% true. What I see is a world that was actually a lot more equal, at least in how we treated one another.
Thank you.
There's two 20s. And it doesn't really matter, because now they're doing it to themselves. Like, who will they blame when there's no Hugh Hefner to blame? Are they going to blame the creator of OnlyFans? They're going to have to blame themselves eventually.
Yeah.
Maybe one day, if the women stay on their path long enough, we'll actually come to a culture where they take responsibility for their own mistakes.
OrganizedBusinessServices.com said, guys, money is just an illusion. Kim K needs the money and will sell her soul for $1. All Kim K's wealth is rented, not owned. Most of these people you talk about daily are rented. One day with money and next day broke. I don't know if I would agree with that if you're using Kim Kardashian as the example, but I understand what you mean in a larger picture. I don't see the second $20.
Oh, I think I got it.
Is this Crispy Leg Transport LLC? How many of these ladies' free will was taken away by gunpoint?
Yeah, I mean that's the number one thing, right? A lot of it is also it's reframing regretful choices you made as being brainwashed, and I don't like that either. I don't like the idea that you can rewrite your own history when the person isn't there to defend themselves. And obviously, Hugh Hefner is a over-the-top example, but we see a lot of that now. A lot of people want to reframe bad choices they made when they were younger as some type of coercion or something that happened to them, rather than admitting that we live in a society where we make choices for ourselves and they will have repercussions. And they're it's monetized to do so.
Mm-hmm. And, I am definitely of the opinion that most women's level of agency is limited, to say the least.
I don't have sympathy for them, because I actually believe that if the culture we lived in now told them that this wasn't a mistake, they wouldn't believe it was a mistake. I believe if the culture hadn't shifted around the victim narrative, that they wouldn't be looking back at their choices with the same lens that they're looking through it now. I think they've been led to these decisions.
It mirrors a lot of these false Me Too claims, though. Like, it's too simple and reductive to just say that all of the Me Too accusers were Machiavellian and they were calculated, and they drum up these fake stories that they know full well are fake in order to ruin lives. That definitely has happened and continues to happen, don't get me wrong. But I think more so, a lot of these accusers are lying to themselves and retroactively reinterpreting what happened to them as traumas, or reinterpreting what happened to them as essentially something that happened to them rather than something that they did, that they regret. Because it's easier to digest that story, like someone did something to me, rather than confronting and reckoning with the decisions you made. Like, that's far more painful.
Society won't hold them accountable. It's really, really funny, because when you talk about it and you say women have limited agency, people will say one way or the other. Like, some people say base. That's awesome. It will like applaud that statement. But the problem is society is telling them that they both have limited agency but also don't. Like, they're telling them both, you should be 110% your own person, you make all your choices, you're a grown woman, boss babe. But also, when you make a mistake, it's not your fault.
It's always
somebody else's fault. And I reject that. I really do believe that in the early 2000s, when this stuff was going on, we can talk about the degeneracy of it all you want, and depending on your level of religious belief or faith in what's going on, and how the relationship between the sexes have changed in the last 10 to 20 years, depending on that, sure. But I do believe that in that time period in the earlier 2000s, neither man nor woman would be given as much special quarter as to how to interpret things that have happened to them outside of actual physical coercion and crime. Like, there just wouldn't have been the psychological redressing of your own actions as something that happened to you back then. And I think that most people that believe in like like what the societal idea of fairness is, would have believed that when we looked for equality, not equity, but equality, that's what we were going for. Women now, there's women in government, and by gosh, we almost had a female vice president back there in the early 2000s. All this stuff that was going on, equal rights. People want the equal rights, but what we found is that they don't want the equal they don't want the equal consequences that come from making your own choices.
Sure.
And it was a different time. As trite as that is to say, it was a different time.
Look, I don't buy the narrative that women didn't have agency over their sexuality before the sexual revolution. If you wanted to go sleep with every guy and be a prostitute and, get pregnant out of wedlock, you were perfectly free to do all of those things. The only difference is that back then there was a culture of shame around those maladaptive behaviors. And also we lived in a more religious society that had a concept of sexual morality. You were equally free to make all of those decisions back then. Now, you are still free to make those decisions, but you will get celebrated for it. And if you regret it later, the media is happy to put a spotlight on you and give you the microphone and tell you that you are a victim.
There's a $20 one there from Mikey.
He said, who will they blame? Just men. It's always going to come down to men are the issue.
I would love to see one of these interviews where the person, like, who was the one that we listened to where they said, like, look, I didn't see any of that stuff happen.
Kendra Wilkinson said that she didn't feel like anyone had it out for her or that she was victimized, but she still says that she is traumatized by the experience of living there for 5 years.
But what she's saying is that so it's trauma brought on by her own choices, right? That's what people would like to see a lot. I honestly believe that these books, I think that the idea of somebody writing one of these books and using it as a cautionary tale for younger women would maybe play better, right? Like maybe there would be more of a market for people to, like, how good do these books actually do? Like, we see a new thing about them all the time. Like, I would love to see one of these women be like, look, I made these choices. You can judge Hugh however you want, whether he was a good guy or a bad guy. But at the end of the day, the person you have the most control over is yourself.
Yeah,
your own choices, your own actions, the decisions you make are the only thing you can 110% control without illegality coming towards you, right? Without the idea of somebody physically coercing you and keeping you somewhere. The number one thing that you have control over is your ability to say yes or no to a question, your ability to do something or not do something.
I think that Kendra Wilkinson's interview in People was the most honest. She said, I got into deep regret afterwards. I got to the point where I started hating myself and asking, why did I have sex with Hugh Hefner? I hated my body.
Why?
I hated my face.
Why?
I got to the point where I started hating myself. And, even though she probably never reached an answer for why she did all of these self-destructive things in her early 20s, at least she's asking, why did I do this? Instead of, why did someone do this to me?
Look, I've admitted many times that I'm a dummy, sure. But, like, ask yourself this question. Take Hugh Hefner, then clone him. Make Hugh Hefner 2 Electric Boogaloo a plumber with no savings and no money to his name. Would you have sex with that one? He lives in a 1-bedroom apartment. If the answer is you'll have sex with the one who has the mansion in the grotto, and you won't have sex with the one who lives in the 1-bedroom apartment, you have your answer as to why you chose to do that. I don't think that actually takes a whole ton of introspection.
Mm-hmm. Number one sent a $20 super chat. Feminism takes over Star Wars and blames the predominantly male audience for valid criticism. To quote Dave Chappelle, chivalry is dead and women killed it. These women be shopping for our IPs. Cheers, champs. Yep. They do be shopping for the male-dominated IPs. Yep. I guess I'm just disheartened that the consequences of the sexual revolution are smacking us in the face right now. And the conversation isn't evolving past I was a victim of this, like why can't we have an honest conversation about the way that the Playboy mansion contributed to our pornified culture that has victimized more people than ever personally interacted with Hugh Hefner. And why do we have to cast him as the monster and the women who are around him as little babies who I mean, yeah, that's just such a simple narrative that doesn't require us to morally question the new sexual mores that we've accepted.
That's your answer. The answer is that it's simple and it's easily digestible, and that's what the media wants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just very sad. Like, I do feel, I feel for these women because they clearly are traumatized and mentally ill. And they probably don't have it in them to confront their regrets in life. And they also have a monetary incentive to sell that story.
That brings me, this says, after Hugh's passing, it was revealed that Crystal was excluded from his will, but he did not leave her with nothing. In 2013, Hugh bought her a $5 million West Hollywood mansion. Apparently, she also received $7 million in cash. I wonder what the hell the tax implications were on that. The house was built in 1937 and boasts a stunning Mediterranean vibe after it was remodeled. So
is she still living in that?
I have no idea, but this says Crystal Hefner at the Playboy mansion. This is a photo not in that apartment. At the mansion, it was fitting. I was fitting into someone else's life. I wanted to make sure the house reflects my current life, but also my past. She seemed a lot less upset about it all when there was no book to be sold. Like I said, it's the victimhood to book pipeline that they all end up on. And as adults, as somebody who was also an adult at this time period in the early 2000s, I have very, very little sympathy for choices in which no criminality was actually committed upon you. Maybe I'm the bad guy.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, everyone knows and is a person who made decisions that hurt them in the end. And that's painful. So I feel sympathy for that pain. Like, even self-inflicted pain. Like, I do feel sympathy for that, you know?
Yeah, maybe this is one of those stories where on another day I would be in a more charitable
Not today.
It depends on the day, right? Like, but also that's because this story doesn't resonate with me because I would never be in this type of situation because I'm not a hot woman. So the idea is that, like, if this was a story about somebody who screwed themselves up with drugs, I can have sympathy while still knowing that you need to take responsibility for your own actions. But that one will always get to me because it's relative to my life experience. So
we got a $20 from Bender the Offender. Accountability and lack of humility is what the modern women is missing. I think you mean humility is missing, but yes. Let's go to Super Chats.
There's another $20 one from Pat the Plumber, who says, half the plumber is my uncle. Oh, and somebody said, in my example, somebody said, like, plumbers make bank, though. Yes, but in my example,
not all of them.
That Hefner is bad at his job. So just imagine, like, Hugh Hefner, the plumber, but he's just not really good at his job. He's always late. He doesn't finish the work. He doesn't get paid very well. And then one more here from That's Danzatastic says, on a random note, Mr. Brett, I wanted to get your take on the show The Newsroom. Do you think that show is good? Could it be made today without being so biased? Also, Mary didn't like Buffy. What does Mary even enjoy? I never watched The Newsroom, though I do know what it is. No, if you're talking about a show without bias, probably not possible today. What do you like, Mary?
I didn't care for Buffy, probably a generational thing. But the one episode where Moloch infested the internet was pretty funny because they still were calling the internet the net. And this kid
TV
said,
show, if
you're not jacked in, you're not live.
Any TV show from the 90s that talked about the internet is a gold mine of content. If you guys never saw, there's an X-Files episode called The Ghost in the Machine about, like, a building that's an artificially intelligent building. And it's so bad that it's good because the building talks like Hal from Mystery Science. It's so good. You have to watch it. It's really good. All right, let's go to Super Chats.
Amelia Cara Mia said, been watching Star Wars Theory for about 5 years now. Dude is a middle-of-the-road Canadian, in no way radical. These articles are trash.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the rest of the fandom is moving in a left direction and leaving people like him behind who are middle of the road and really couldn't care one way or another. And they're kind of radicalizing them in the process. Joe Watland said, so Generations is kind of like the new decades these days.
I guess.
I guess so.
Let's do 2 more.
Disco Jensen said, point me to one person that bought Rose Tico or Admiral Holdo merch. No one bought the Reva lightsaber either. There was a Reva lightsaber?
They didn't even make it.
Thank
Remember,
you.
they tried to crowdfund the Reva lightsaber, and it didn't make enough money to get made.
Damn.
And yes, plenty of YouTube channels covered the amazing overflow of like back stock of unbought Star Wars toys that nobody had any interest in purchasing.
I know that kids these days aren't into Star Wars. Right? There aren't any children who are into Star Wars.
They make the toys for them.
They're making the toys for the Disney adults. The kids aren't playing with the toys.
Let's do 2 more.
Corey Anderson said, how are dinosaurs not real, Mary?
You want to tell them, Mary?
They're just not real. I just don't buy it.
We had this conversation early when Mary first started here.
I wasn't the one who brought it up. Wasn't it Seamus who brought it up?
Was it?
I'm just saying, it's pretty far-fetched.
Let's hold off on the rest and we'll come back after the fact. Tell us what's going on with this comedian. I also don't know if we can show this clip even with it blurred out.
No, I think we can.
We can try.
Yeah.
But yeah.
A female comedian named Natasha Leggero recently opened a comedy show by taking her top off and showing her bare breasts to the entire audience while people were recording and posting it on social media. Comedian Natasha Leggero turns comedy act into naked strip show caught on video. Once again, proving that feminism benefits men more than it benefits women, especially the free the nipple movement. I thought that we moved past this as a culture the same way that we moved past the gender wage gap debate.
That never went away. People lie about that. That people still argue.
I still see a plethora of videos of feminist women in France who, at the drop of a hat, will take off their tops in order to protest different world atrocities. And we have no idea what they're protesting. It's just, their boobs are out. It's supposed to make a statement.
That reminds me of this video. Let me see if I can find this here. This is like a comedy channel from a couple years back. I remember this still.
Off.
Oh, where are you going?
To the women's rights rally downtown.
What are you guys upset about now?
Excuse me?
I mean, besides, being unfairly treated by this damn patriarchal society.
We're protesting for body equality. Specifically about the unjust double standard where guys can just go around topless, but if I do
Wait. Is it about boobies?
Yes.
Are men allowed to take part in this march?
I mean, what are men so afraid about anyways? There's no flames coming out of my breasts. My nipples don't shoot bullets.
That would be pretty sick, though.
So why should we be subjected to a different standard? We should be allowed to be topless in public.
Hey, yeah, I agree.
Sure.
No, seriously, I do. I mean, and same for the braless thing. I mean, nothing would make me happier than to, free women of their tops and their bras.
Okay, then who is forcing us to wear tops in public, huh?
Honestly, I think it's you guys.
Oh, okay, sure.
No, but I think I speak for all men when I say nothing would make us happier than if we went to the beach and there was just a bunch of topless, women there for equality.
Really?
Really?
For equality.
Mean, not just beaches, restaurants, gyms, parking garages. That lady down at the Dairy Queen, nothing would make me happier than to see her rock hard nips as she scoops my very cherry chip blizzard treat. And not for anything sexual. I mean, for freedom and whatnot.
See, that's
For
what
freedom
it is.
and whatnot,
He's for the most part probably right.
I'm sure that men would say that, but then if it actually started happening, you would be seeing, obese women
there'd be plenty of women
and old women.
I don't want to look at without their shirts on.
And Natasha Leggero is 51 years old, so this is just very undignified for a woman of her age to be doing. It's undignified no matter what, but really no one wants to see that shit. So let's take a look at the censored video caught by TMZ. She's doing this show with Bert Kreischer, and apparently Bert Kreischer is known for taking his shirt off during his sets, which I also don't want to see because he's fat.
All right. The one from
Let's
the TMZ
risk
article?
it.
Yeah.
I think we'll be fine.
This next person coming to stage is absolutely one of the funniest comedians I know in the world. I
want him to put his shirt on.
Because he gets to live with her and she is that hilarious. Ladies and gentlemen, Natasha Leggero.
get the point. I'm assuming it was an 18+ show?
I certainly hope so, yeah. So her, why did she do this? Let's like psychoanalyze this for a second. What was the deep meaning behind this?
Because
for
you've been
taking her
raised to
shirt
believe
off?
that everything that's different between men and women is the result of some type of oppression.
It's the result of like social engineering, and men and women are actually not different at all. I'm not surprised that women don't think their boobs are sexual, because we all look at ourselves naked in the mirror every day, and obviously you don't look at yourself and see yourself as this sexual being. But when you're out in public and you're around people of the opposite sex, and you know, even people of the same sex, we just, you know, we've decided as a human civilization that that is not appropriate for public places, and there are laws against that. So yeah, men and women are different, and their bodies are different, and it is not socially acceptable for you to be shirtless in public. It's not socially acceptable for Bert Kreischer to be shirtless in public either.
That's the point that they don't make, is that when a dude does it too, it's still
weird and gross.
Makes people at least
It still makes people uncomfortable equally. So yeah, that went X-rated very quickly. So here was her Instagram caption. Bert Kreischer took his shirt off, so I did too. Improv said not to post, but TMZ already did, so F it. Should female comics be able to do the same things as male comics? Because I've also been thinking about trying to F my opener. Female comedians get a bad rap, and it's only getting worse thanks to people like Natasha Leggero, because you are leaning into the negative stereotype around female comedians that they rely on vulgarity, crudeness, and graphic sexuality instead of actual jokes. I mean, we talk about this a lot. Why aren't female stand-up comics as funny as men? It's probably because, you know, men are socialized to need to be funny as a way to, you know, make friends and appear confident and have status and attract women. And women don't have the same social pressure to be funny. They can rely on their appearance. They can, you know, they have intrinsic value, and they don't need to put on a performance to attract men. Men don't really care if women are funny.
Also, back when the trend of women being vulgar was funny, there was still some type of social expectation that women were not like that. So therefore, you're playing against the stereotype. At the time, the idea of a woman being crude and sexually and making sexual jokes was unique, because it was not something you saw all the time. Now, because that's the norm in society and not the exception, it doesn't hold the same, you know, hold that it might have for people back in the day.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like now all women are expected to be vulgar and act like men. So it's not really shocking when they do it anymore. You're not really breaking any new ground and doing any of this. And I saw other female comedians who were celebrating her in her comment section. Sarah Silverman said queen. Margaret Cho said that it was iconic. And Chelsea Handler also was complimenting her. I just think if I were doing anything and Chelsea Handler were complimenting me for it, whatever I was doing, I would immediately stop doing it. Like, if Chelsea Handler is celebrating you, that's a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's like definitely a red flag. Rachel Brosnahan also commented and said, should female comics be able to do the same thing as male comics? Funny way to propose, but yes. And, you know, it's not really about comedians. It's just there should be different standards for men and women.
There was a clip the other day of Jason Kelce. He was at Travis Kelce's game.
He was also shirtless.
And he was shirtless, and he was holding up a young fan so that she could meet Taylor Swift. And I was just imagining the parents being like, I hope they know who that is. Otherwise, there's just a random guy.
Some random shirtless guy holding your child.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would prefer if everyone kept their clothes on in public. That would be a good start. And then page 6 followed Natasha Leggero to her car the next night and asked her what she meant by this. Like, what was the statement she was trying to make? So let's take a look at that paparazzi video and her explanation. I'm sure it's really deep and not just that she was trying to be a vulgar pervert.
I wanted to ask you some questions. Oh, Natasha, talk to me. Everybody was shocked about your comedy show yesterday. Oh, Natasha. It's good publicity. People are shocked that you
have such huge.
Yes, and they're amazed. Do you think more comedians will do that in the future for the girls?
Absolutely not. No, nobody wants to do that. I was trying to make a point.
You're trying to make a point. What was your point?
That she's not feeling her husband.
That's her husband, by the way.
It's a bigger story, actually.
Oh, I did not know that.
Okay,
all right, bye.
Can you imagine being this chick's husband, by the way? I mean, how would you feel if your wife was out there showing everybody her goods on stage, on social media? Another comment pointed out, by the way, if it wasn't an attention grab, you would have done this at Joe Rogan's comedy club where there are no phones allowed for it to leak. She wanted this to get attention on social media. That's the reason that she did it. It's not really anything but clout chasing, but we're supposed to believe that it's this grandiose feminist statement about double standards and how female comics are oppressed because they can't be naked on stage.
It'd been cooler if she's like, I just wanted to let my titties breathe.
Like, I don't know, just don't try to act like it was some kind of deep statement, you know? Like, if you were just trying to get attention, I would respect it more if you admitted it. Yeah. Right?
So a $20 one here from Disco Jensen says, female stand-up, my last date, my ex-boyfriend, my vagina.
Yeah. I mean, there's literally I wouldn't even call it a bit, but Amy Schumer did a bit in one of her specials where she said that her genitalia smells like a barnyard animal. Like that, and she repeated it like we're supposed to laugh the second time that she says it. Like, it's just so played out. And if you wanted to combat negative stereotypes about female comics, you would actually rely on telling jokes that make people laugh. Because currently the stereotype around female comedians is exactly this, is that you rely on being crass instead of being funny. It's not shocking anymore. It's 2024. Women have been acting like men for a solid 4 decades now. You're not doing anything revolutionary by taking your clothes off. Simple as. People were also comparing this to the trans influencer who went topless on the White House lawn. Yeah. And had to apologize for it, and that was also called misogynistic.
The language in that is hilarious. Did you read the language around how they describe it? How the person
influencer's apology said, my trans masculine friends were showing off their top surgery scars and living in trans joy. And because it's perfectly within the law in Washington, D.C., I decided to join them and cover my nipples just to play it safe because I wanted to be fully free in myself. I had zero intention of trying to be vulgar or profane in any way. I was simply living in joy, living my truth, and existing in my body. You weren't existing in your body. You were getting naked on the White House lawn, bitch. It's so intellectually dishonest. Holy shit.
When I read that, I died a little bit inside.
I was just, living my trans joy and speaking my truth by
that's an actual
by bouncing my fake titties on my male skeleton in the White House lawn.
It would have been better if she was just like, look, if she gave no explanation, I would like that. If she's like, no explanation, I just did it, I'd have been fine with that.
If you just said, I was trying to be profane and vulgar and get attention, I actually would have some respect for that. But for them, it always has to be some kind of weird activism.
Yeah, activism sucks.
Yeah.
You should not be an activist. As I always say, it's not enough to just not be an activist. You should work very hard at being actively anti-activist.
It's funny.
You should do your best in society to do as little for a cause as possible.
The Free the Nipple movement kind of became popular at the same time as the free bleeding movement among feminists in the 2010s. So there's one that men were like cheering on, and they were like, yeah, take your top off. And then they were like, but don't bleed menstrual blood on public transportation. Like, that's not empowering.
There's a $20 one here from Mikey. Says, I bet the WNBA would get more views if they had them go topless, though. Yes, they absolutely would.
Unless it's Brittany Griner. Yeah. There's nothing really to see then.
There's a comedian who made that joke. I don't remember who it was about how they should maybe that was Ryan Long who did that. It's like, should they go topless to increase views? Yeah, they should.
All right, let's move to Super Chats. Bucky Ducky said Star Wars isn't ruined. The films are still there. Yeah, that's the optimistic outlook, is, no matter how much the sequels and the spin-offs are ruining it for you, you can always go back to the original, but...
Correct.
Tacti Platty said, I pronounce it Xennial to emphasize the Gen X. Okay, sorry about that. Joe Watland said, do you think that the people that invented money guns got rich off their invention, and do you think that they use money guns themselves?
It's a very good question. I would like to know that. Does the person who created the money gun live such a hedonistic lifestyle that he just has a bunch of hookers over all the time and strippers?
Why are you assuming his gender? What if the money gun was invented by a woman of color?
Well, the money gun is awesome, therefore it's probably invented by a dude.
Look it up. I actually want to know now.
It'd be really funny if it was who invented the money gun?
Corey Anderson said, in the movie Bruno, where Bruno and Paula Abdul are sitting on illegal immigrants like they're human furniture, there are men in Mary's DMs willing to be her human furniture. Yeah, that's kind of disturbing.
I'm just looking at this right now. This says, a gun that shoots money is the hottest thing on Kickstarter right now. I'm putting this on screen. This is from 2014, updated in May of 2023. Or of 2021, says the money gun. It's literally a gun that shoots money. 3 days, these days, the line between real and hoax Kickstarters can seem far too thin. This campaign to manufacture money guns is real, though, but it's the video that looks dangerously close to a YouTube parody. Pay $250 or $5,000 for the gold-plated version for the opportunity to throw money at strangers.
There's no way that money guns were invented in 2014.
Rather than being a satirical comment on crowdfunding, the money gun is actually marketed as a promotional tool for parties and events. Well, that's exactly what it's used for.
Wait, are you telling me that money guns never existed before 2014?
I don't know. I'm just reading the article. Whether it existed beforehand.
Brett, you had never heard of a money gun before 2014.
That was like a decade ago.
You don't even remember?
I don't remember.
That's so hard to believe, but I guess...
Unfortunately, the thing most people probably want from a money gun Kickstarter is their own money gun, and the cheapest versions are $250 each. Well, that's not what these babies cost.
Yeah.
And it's...
Ours are made of plastic, not gold.
Yes.
Crispy Like Transport LLC said her goal was met. She got the attention she was looking for. Not sure who that is referring to, but it could be referring to a lot of women we just talked about. Mikey said, oddly enough, the funniest female comedian I've watched is Asian. I know Tim was reposting a female comedian, said, I finally found a funny female comedian, and she was Asian. I don't know. Pat the Plumber said, I'd never take my shirt off because I'm also Fat the Plumber. At least you're being honest with yourself, Disco Jensen, Corey Anderson said, Bob's and Vagine, ha ha ha, so funny.
Yep, that's the humor.
60 Watt said, leftists don't care about double standards that favor them. They will blatantly ignore any and all call-outs regardless of the legitimacy. Well, that's why it's so pointless to point out, imagine if the roles were reversed, and how hypocritical they are, because they're just going to keep being hypocritical and we're going to keep being mad about it.
There's no truth but power. They don't care that they're hypocritical.
The Undertaker said, had a woman invented the money gun, we would know. She would have been hailed as a woman in tech and would have been on the cover of Popular Mechanics.
I love
And probably Forbes 30 under 30.
See,
too.
I like the idea that back in the day, the trope of like the stripper who's stripping to go to law school, there's actually a stripper who's going to be an engineer, and she created it while working at the strip club. That's a far better version of that. If I was to workshop my own story.
Bucky Ducky said, Mary, WTF were you doing to be seeing money guns at 14?
Well, she said.
Well, I
2014.
feel like I have a hard time believing that money guns didn't exist in the 2000s. Like, how is that possible? How had no one thought of this before?
It was a genius invention.
Well, I guess we have him to thank
When
for
was
it.
the shirt cannon invented? You know, the thing they shoot at like baseball games and stuff like that.
I've seen someone get like pelted
Yeah.
with a t-shirt before.
If they get you, if
it
you're
looks
too
violent.
close.
The rest of these aren't showing up for
There's
me
one
yet.
more from a username that you prefer not to say that says, Bert Kreischer is the reality of what Van Wilder looks like. Fat, alcoholic slob, spent too long in college and desperately trying to cling to his youth. Thank you, guys.
I don't know much about Bert Kreischer. I think a lot of people seem to not like him.
In our chat, that seemed to be the general consensus. I've only ever seen him on like Rogan and stuff like that.
High Voltage 75 said, is there a money bazooka? If so, get them into PCC Studio now. That will make our cleanup job so much harder.
Like an M16 money gun. The Money 16 would be fantastic. I did see somebody earlier say put a red dot on it. Yeah, put a red dot, put a holographic sight on your money gun and start just pelting people. Also on Friday when John was here, he said, I think your money guns are losing some of their oomph, because when I was here they were like pelting me in the face. Now they just kind of make it a little bit over there. We're gonna have to re-up and get new ones soon.
Yeah, we gotta get new ones.
Yep.
Nothing Special said, hey there, Brett and Mary. Do you guys sometimes have guests on? A great collab would be with you guys and Amala and Taylor. Thoughts? Funny show, by the way.
Well, thank you. We do have guests on from outside the company on Fridays. And then on Wednesdays and Thursdays, we have people who frequent the castle. Sometimes Libby comes in, but otherwise it's Phil and Sarah join. But yeah, we try to find a different guest for every Friday. And I think we're booked up through through February?
Part of March,
Part of March?
least. Yeah.
There you go. It's going to be a good year.
Taylor, you mean Taylor Silverman? Or is there a different Taylor?
Maybe that's who Amala works with now. I don't know.
I think she has like a co-host on her show. Maybe that's his name. Yeah. That would be cool.
Is Taylor a guy or is it a girl?
A guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys, before we go, would you hit the like button on this video, and would you please subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already? Thank you very much for that. We're working our way to 100,000 subscribers, so please go ahead, join now, and be a part of that. Thank you. Mary, where can they find you?
You can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived, or you can send me hate on X. That is also Mary Archived.
Perfect. All right, guys, if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram and Twix at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. We are here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, noon Pacific, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify if you prefer to listen rather than watch. If you want to follow the show on social media, we are at Twix at PopCulture_show, Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. One more here from Not That John Stewart says, most money guns were probably homemade from repurposed card shufflers. This is probably when they started being mass produced. Well, that makes sense. Bucky Ducky says, speaking of guests, where are I'm assuming that's a pride
Gamer
flag?
maids. The gamer maids.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, the rainbow flag and then the mermaid emoji.
My monitor over here is smaller. I couldn't read the second one. It's a mermaid.
Well, we would love to have Sarah on. It's just we're kind of in a standoff right now.
Yeah,
who's gonna come on whose show first?
Yep. And we got one more here from Pat the Plumber says, M16 money guns shoot silver dollars. That would hurt.
Yeah.
That would hurt very much.
No thanks.
All right, guys. We will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.